Hi. As many of you know, SVT is a Swedish public service broadcaster and publisher. We have several, maybe 8, I think, TV channels. We have a big website, an online video service, and we're active in social media. We have a democratic mission, and what we publish is to be characterized by democratic and humanistic values. Of course, this also applies to all our activities on the internet. TV exposure gives people fame and glory and the risk of online harassment. Our security department and communications department help TV participants to assess the risks and understand what they are getting themselves into before featuring on our shows. The participants can also get practical tips on how to use social media in a more secure way. To my experience, women and people with different backgrounds than the traditional Swedish have the greatest risk of online harassment. And it seems like this problem is similar worldwide. Here is John Oliver's take on that.
The internet has been blowing our minds with its power and convenience for decades, as you can see in this actual AOL ad from the 90s.
Hey, Dan, ready for the game? I'm just finishing up here with my new kayaking friends.
Kayaking friends on your computer?
Yeah, I just got America Online.
Sounds great. Listen, I can't go to the game today.
What?
I've got to send something for my mom's birthday. It's tomorrow. I'll then book plane tickets for our trip next week, and my kids got to go to the library to look up dinosaurs.
Hey, we can take care of all that before we go.
Yeah, right.
Oh, with America Online.
Wait, let me get this right. Your mum's birthday is tomorrow, your trip is next week, and you're only planning both of those things now? Forget the AOL tutorial. Let's talk about basic responsibility here, Dan. You're a father! But as the ad goes on to point out, the internet was going to fix everything.
Call now for 10 free hours of America Online and get instant access to the worlds of sports, finance, computing, and entertainment.
Here come the dinosaurs. I saved you a trip to the library.
That's great.
Yeah, downloading is easy, too. You know, I can even send email on the internet. And, of course, there's my personal favorite, live chat. That's how I met my new kayaking buddies.
Okay. I'm now pretty sure that kayaking buddies is a euphemism. I'm not saying that he's not going to meet his new buddies in a shed by a lake. I'm just saying there's not going to be a kayak involved. Amazingly, that ad was 20 years ago, and the internet has become integral to modern life. But unfortunately, it's also become a haven for harassment. And I'm not talking about everyday internet abuse, of which I am more than aware. Look at our YouTube page, and you'll see comments like, "This guy's a fucking dumbass." I don't know why, but I always picture John Oliver as a puffin. And watch his hands, his fingers are like creepy spider legs. Which is ridiculous because, oh God, oh, get off me! No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the kind of direct threats that can make people fear for their safety. And if you're thinking, well, come on, that doesn't seem like that big a problem, well, congratulations on your white penis. Because if you have one of those, you probably have a very different experience of the internet.
Since television has such a great impact, SVT has always had to take measures to protect the individuals featured on our shows, or at least for a very long time. And now the risk of online harassment gives a new dimension to the considerations that our editors have to make with each publication. This can be a really difficult balance between being able to tell relevant, important personal stories on one hand, and on the other, assessing when an individual is at risk of suffering. And this is something they have to judge every day. We are responsible for all our channels at SVT, and so we can't expose individuals to hatred in our online forums. Sometimes this can be a real challenge. One recent example was when the Swedish teenage female artist Hanna Larsson, who has a feminist profile, was about to sing a song on one of our entertainment shows earlier this summer. Angry and abusive posts quickly filled our forums and Facebook pages. And this also has to do with the Facebook algorithm driving the like-minded into the discussion once someone finds their way. We deleted all comments that didn't stick to the topic in a very strict sense. Still, and unfortunately, we can only do this to our forums. The hatred was evident elsewhere. The internet is full of open forums where anyone can express anything any way they want. SVT, we don't compete on that arena. That's not our role. We always act as publicists. So we take responsibility for what's being expressed, and we do that both through moderation and through active editorship. And our goals are always to create value, and we do that through dialogue, and we want to strengthen the relationship with the audience. This is a tough one. Publishing has always been about responsibility and about choice, and the internet hasn't changed that. But nowadays, it's common that people who get their comments removed from our forums get really upset and accuse us of censorship. I think it's a really important and tough challenge for us to communicate that freedom of speech doesn't mean that anyone has the right to express anything in SVT's forums that we treat as a publication. And this is hard to get through with. Here's another aspect. When many viewers were upset by a TV program in earlier days, it could lead to a viewer outcry. And that can still happen, of course. But nowadays, the fact that many express dissatisfaction with the show doesn't necessarily mean that a large part of the audience is dissatisfied. An outcry might just as well be due to media campaigns urging people to complain. One example of this from earlier this year was the so-called viewer outcry that we had when the leader of the nationalist party Sverigedemokraterna was interviewed on our big talk show Skavlan. The protests in our forums were massive, and our own news department reported on a viewer outcry. But when we examined how people or the protesters found their way into our forums, it turned out that the large majority did so through links on social media where campaigns urged people to get into our pages and complain. So this outcry was never an expression of what the masses felt. This mechanism is increasingly important for journalists to keep in mind because it really threatens us of becoming a tool for impartial or partial media campaigns. When it comes to our own staff at SVT, online harassment is a growing issue. When our journalists report on immigration or dogs or science for that matter, they can be sure to receive loads of hostile emails in response. And a third of Swedish journalists in general are exposed to threats. Still, we have to carry on with our work. We have a security department that's adjusting their strategy to the new environment, and they support our employees. And sometimes when hateful response is foreseeable, a publisher can choose to sign articles with his or her names instead of the individual reporters to protect that individual from threats. So that's how we handle it now. Tack.